Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm going to use my calm voice. This is the calm voice of hopefully reason. It's also the calm voice of I'm annoyed and pissed, and just gonna try and be nice and calm. See if that doesn't help everything get through. Okay. So this week we learned that Aftershock has filed for bankruptcy. And we at least have some information that a couple other companies may be close behind. It's highly expected that Valiant is right around the corner with this, and we're expected to also see changes at a couple other companies, be it layoffs in early 2023 to potential more bankruptcies. Although based on how several of the other companies are structured, bankruptcy is a little bit less likely. But things like layoffs, restructuring, or just closing of divisions is certainly on the horizon. So to me, when I hear this information, it's not a surprise. Anyone who is surprised by this has not been paying attention, not been listening, and it's sad in the sense that most of this was avoidable. The biggest culprit, like I said in the in kind of the initial news break about Aftershock, was that this was a very prime culprit of companies that went all in on the strategy of have comics be a loss leader and instead hope that you're going to get a big payout from movies or from Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whoever. And this strategy was very popular around 2014 to about 2019. A lot of companies restructured, formed, and put themselves out there to do exactly that. That was the reason they were comic companies, and even some existing companies like Dark Horse pivoted further into that model because that's where the gold was. That's where the true money is. Now, in doing so, they didn't outright admit, what was happening, which was comics, are potentially no longer viable as their own business. Now, of course, that's not true. If you can certainly make a profit on comics, and you can certainly make it a successful business, but you do have to run your company carefully. You can't get in over your skis. I mean, in this instance, I think Mad Cave, a very small comic company, did do a good job of making sure that they had money in the bank prior to expansion or prior to doing some of these other things. They kept the eye on the ball in terms of making sure that the comic part of their business was cash flow positive so they could pay people and so they could, not be the biggest publisher in the world, not, get investors to come in who wanted to fund that kind of big Hollywood money. But it was safer business. And it's one reason why you do not see Mad Cave filing for bankruptcy today, or you do not see graders and various debt creditors coming in to say, hey, where's my cash? You owe me money. Doesn't mean that they won't get there in the future, but it absolutely is a safer bet. Because if you look at all the companies that are in a lot of trouble right now, they all basically tip their business model in the wrong direction. They tip their business model on being reliant upon a moonshot of a comic IP property getting optioned, picked up, and becoming a film. I have to believe, because I've talked to a few of the people in these companies, a few of the leadership positions, that they didn't really understand how Hollywood worked. A lot of people would make comments like, "Hey, yeah, this comic is going to be optioned." Like, okay, but option doesn't mean a big check. Option doesn't mean a pilot's going to be filmed. Option doesn't mean the pilot's going to be aired. The pilot airing doesn't mean the series is going to get picked up. Like, there's a lot of other extra steps there, but a lot of people with very low intelligence around how the system actually worked got excited, and that's how we are today. So, but I said in the video that the bankruptcy, it's a good thing. And this triggered several people who, again, I'm sorry. I have no patience for you. You fucking idiots. I have no patience for you. A lot of this stuff is free public information, and the willful desire to misinterpret what's being said to fit your own baby brain mentality of how things work is exhausting. Listen, so bankruptcy is a good thing in one very key instance. It forces a change in status. And if you're in the business world, if you're in companies, you understand why that's a good thing. A company that is not viable, a company that owes millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, continuing to operate and continuing to rack up more debt and continuing to trick people into basically loaning them money, or entering into an employment position where they never have a hope of getting paid. That company needs to stop operations or change. It should not be allowed to just continue. And one of the things that bankruptcy does is it forces that process. It forces things out of this, trapped in amber state where people aren't getting paid and debt's racking up. And it says, you're going to lose some of your ability to borrow. You're going to be forced to sell assets. It forces the company to make some changes. And clearly, Aftershock needed that. Aftershock has been in this state for a while. It is not healthy for companies to run themselves on GoFundMes and borrowing cash in order to squeeze by month after month while increasing their debt. Basically, it's like the person who has a credit card who continues to max out their card month after month and then pay the interest. That's not healthy. It's not good for an individual to do that. It's not good for a company to do that. So yes, bankruptcy proceedings are a good thing because it forces the issue. Now, you would have to be a complete asshole to interpret that as saying, hey, Aftershock's in better shape now than ever. That is ridiculous. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what this is. No company wants to go through bankruptcy. Once you find yourself in an absolute shit position and you're owed money, you do think bankruptcy starts to become a good option. But that's a little bit like you've fallen trapped in a canyon, a rock has fallen on your leg, and the best option for you is to cut off your leg so you can survive and crawl to safety, as opposed to starving to death, trapped under a rock, and coyotes eating you. Yes, that is what it is like. You don't want to find yourself in a position where your best option is to cut off your leg. You do not want to find yourself in a position where bankruptcy is the right thing to do. But that doesn't mean bankruptcy sometimes isn't the right thing to do. If your company is fucked, bankruptcy is the right thing to do. And so in that instance, yes, it's a good thing that Aftershock is heading there. I saw a lot of takes of, this isn't a big deal. They'll be able to emerge from this stronger than ever. Highly unlikely. Yes, there are companies that emerge from bankruptcy and rebuild. Definitely. However, it tends to be a very different company. It tends to be a different leadership, and a lot of people get burned during that process. The other misnomer is that if a company files bankruptcy, that the magic money fairy appears and instantly just starts handing out cash to people. Look, Aftershock, the filing says $10 to $50 million in assets and $10 to $50 million in debt. I guarantee you that a lot of that asset is speculative, meaning they do not, like in bankruptcy, typically you sell off assets in order to pay off your debt, and you get assistance to do so. There is not a world where Aftershock has $50 million in assets and $10 million in debts, and if they just get some financial help there and somebody to kind of sort it all out and maybe make some tough choices, but sell off things, and then I'll be fine. Then they'll 6 months from now, they'll still have 40 million in the bank, and they'll make a new logo, and they'll be just fine. That's not how it's going to work. There is a 99 point, fuck it. There is a 100% chance that the debts far outweigh the assets in this case. Meaning the likelihood that this company emerges strong and healthy is zero. The hope that people have here is that some of the bigger debts are erased and people get their money. Bad news for comic people. The people who are going to get their money are the Hollywood people, the people who are owed over $1 million. Those are the people that are going to get paid first, or at least big portions of that are going to get eaten down before they get to the guy who's owed $6,000. Sadly, you do wish the individual would get the money over a corporation that is used to loaning out money, but that's not how it works. Turns out those corporations have better lawyers. But it just is baffling to me how basic logic now becomes part of the culture war, or whatever the hell this is. The stupid war is what this is. The war of which side can be dumber faster. Reading some of these articles talking about how finally the company's getting the help it needs, and this is great for comics. No, it is not. You do not want to be working in an industry where companies are declaring bankruptcy and other companies are on the verge of bankruptcy. That is not a great industry to find yourself in. I mean, I don't know how any creator looks at the U.S. Western comic industry and doesn't have at least a little anxiety if they're not also working somewhere else. Because look, you're dealing with an industry where several of the smaller companies going bankrupt. The bigger companies are decreasing rates as fast as humanly possible. That's not good. I don't know how you look at that and say, oh man, things are going to work out great. Unlikely. No, none of this means it's on a path to nowhere, but it means the current system, the system that's like, no, this will be fine. That current system is in need of desperate repair and major change. And that is exactly what is coming. I mean, and not just coming, we're in it now. We are in it now. By the same token, if you are so dumb as to not understand what these terms mean, that when somebody says, yeah, company declaring bankruptcy, in this case, it's the right thing to do. If you can't deal with that take, I don't know what to tell you. Please don't ever run a company. Don't ever be in a position of leadership. You do not have the functional capability to understand what these big boy terms mean. It is absolutely irresponsible for the comic media and the various news sites to be talking like this is some kind of happy time, great news. Everything is going to work out. That is beyond irresponsible. You still have to acknowledge reality. So the various people who got all bent out of shape, the various people who send me mail saying, once again, I'm carrying water for the comic industry by saying, hey, bankruptcy is at least it's going to force a change so people get paid. If that is carrying water for the comic industry, fuck off. You're I don't know how you're using YouTube. It has buttons that you have to click and press. I do not know how you're able to do it. You're clearly one of those people that misses the toilet when you pee standing up. Anyway. I didn't stay as calm as I wanted. Such is the way it is. Look, I do believe strongly that the comic industry is going through a massive change, and hell, I've got the videos to prove it. You can see the predictions, from years ago, saying this is exactly what was going to happen. What's really funny is there's an interview, and I'll let you figure out what one in the recent past, which narrows it down a lot, where I'm asked, which companies do you think are going to go bankrupt, or which companies do you think are going to fold? And there's no hesitation. I'm like, Aftershock. Clearly, it's going to be Aftershock. And sure enough, and by the way, this isn't me patting myself on the back because I'm so clever. It's not a hard call. The signs are absolutely there. Anyway, life is complex. If you're not willing to look at the details, why are you playing? Thanks for listening.